Do the What's Up career discussion.
Okay.
And so, right, and you get to sign the banner when we're done. Everybody's putting their signatures.
Fair enough.
But just in the spirit of culture, in the spirit of career path, if you could share with us what your career looked like.
Yes, sir.
Some of the things that went well, and then you might have some fresh news.
I do.
All right.
So, for those out there that I haven't met, it is a pleasure. Thanks for tuning in today. And Adam, thank you for the opportunity to come on and talk about something that I'm very passionate about. But, so I started in 2006 as a laborer on a wind site. At that time, I was working for Kern County Fire Department on their wildland fire crew.
Okay.
And we had just wrapped up our season. We were done fighting fires. It was starting to get wet. And my girlfriend at the time, her dad was building a project here in Tehachapi. And he's like, you know what? Don't just collect unemployment. Come out here, work through the winter, and see if you like it. And I'm like, I'm going to be a firefighter. I don't want to go build wind turbines. This is not what I do.
I know what I'm going to do.
Okay. So
what's a laborer do?
I was a laborer in a laydown yard, so I was inspecting turbine components when they came off the railhead, paint chip here,
okay,
missing wire, and then they found out I could run a forklift, and so then I wound up moving a bunch of dunnage and crane mats and running around. But I had that drive of I couldn't sit still. I didn't want to be a laborer. That's not how I'm built. That's not what my dad instilled in me. And within 3 months, I made a foreman of that laydown yard. And within 6 months, I was moved into a superintendent role.
Wow.
So I put my head down and I went to work. Granted, at that time, there was a lot of folks that were wanting to go home for Christmas and they were going to transition to another project. And I was like, I'll stay as long as you want. I'm here. And so I moved up very quickly. And it was a great opportunity. I wound up on a base mid crew, and then I wound up on a top out crew, slinging blades. And I did that for a couple years, building projects between California, Oklahoma, Texas, just stacking towers.
Okay.
And at that point, I was like, well, I kind of got this down pat. I want to do the next piece of a wind site. So I figured I'd learn how to do underground and build substations and roads, because those kind of all go hand in hand when you're putting those pieces together.
Yeah.
So then I went for work for another company, and they were a cable manufacturer who also did their own installation. And so I built a bunch more wind sites, running equipment and doing terminations and learning how to be an electrician and wire towers and substations. And that was one of the most fun pieces that I had, was like I got to build a road, and then I get to cut it up, put some cable in the ground, backfill it, and then I get to turn these things on.
Yeah.
Like that was a cool piece to me. It was like when you flip that switch and then you see power being generated.
You really saw wing to wing on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so finished there, and about that time, PTCs and things were kind of dipping off. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll go home and figure out what to do. I'd been traveling for a few years, and I went to work on a project site, 120 megawatt wind farm that I had built 2 years prior. And I worked on that facility, and I was a technician. I climbed turbines every day. I did maintenances. I troubleshot. I did large corrective repairs, and it was great. I got to be home. I got to spend some time with my now wife, and just kind of learn what I wanted to take as my next steps. I had been really passionate about just learning the industry, and over that course of time, I wanted to learn about people, what we're talking about today. And so in 2014, I got a phone call from a company. Actually, can I use folks' names? Or
Sure.
Perfect. I got a phone call from Buddy and Nikki Cummings, who were the founders of World Wind and Solar. Used to be World Wind Services. And they said, hey, we're going to kickstart a solar business here at World Wind. Would you come back? And I was just like, yeah, that sounds great. What are we going to do? And they're like, well, they're building all these solar plants out here in Rosamond, Lancaster. And, we do electrical work. You've been a part of that with us from time to time. Could you just come run some guys? And I was like, okay, sounds good. So I finished the project. I was on a campaign doing a retrofit on the site that I was on. I was like, I got to take at least 4 months to finish this campaign, because I wasn't going to leave the site high and dry. Mm. I came back and I started there, and we started selling electrical services to these huge solar farms. And they're like, nope, we got our own union hands. We don't need that. And I'm out there and said, what are you guys going to do about all of these tumbleweeds in the middle of your field? And they're like, I'm not going to do anything. We build solar plants. We don't cut weeds. Someone's going to need to. And that's how I broke into the solar business.
Wow.
Was cutting grass. And being those guys on site at that time, then we were able to scale and sell electrical services, which turned into panel washing services, which grew into LTSAs and O&M contracts.
Look at that.
And we were able to build and build. And
don't turn down the small jobs.
No. And it came down to our culture. We built a program called HTR, Hire, Train, Retain. We would bring technicians into a group interview. Everybody got 5 minutes to stand up, tell us what you did and what you want to be. And then we would hire as many as could pass drug screen and background checks to come and cut weeds in a solar field, wash panels, 120-degree weather. And if you could show up to work on time, work safe, work smart, we'd put you in a technician class and teach you the basics. That tech level 1. How do we give you that career path? And I'll tell you what, we were able to grow and scale so fast because we had that levelized piece. We didn't have to try to go steal from someone else anymore. We had our own factory.
Yeah.
We're cranking out technicians. And Whirlwind grew at such a pace that they wound up being bought twice by private equity. That business flipped multiple times and still continues to scale to this day. They're now known as Pierce Renewables, the largest independent service provider in North America.
Yep. For
wind, battery, EV, solar, and telecom.
Yep.
They're huge. And so congrats to those guys. And that's really where, at that point I had been at an SVP level. I had really scaled. So laborer, foreman, superintendent, back to a technician, then to an operations manager, operations director, to an SVP.
I just want to comment. I loved that bit about it was thought through on how to create the career path for the technicians. No, I think that's brilliant. Aligns with your passion for the culture.
Yeah. And, after that, I bounced around for, the last 24 months building some really great training centers and another services program for another business. I also stood up a parts warehouse, which is something new for me that I really, really enjoyed was, technicians get stuck with work orders, but office people get stuck with bills. And if you don't have a good parts program or a good tracking program, work order systems, then, so I spent my last few years focusing on that for a few companies and have got that dialed in. And the exciting news of last week is I've now taken a global director position for LGES Vertech, and I'll be running their services side for all of their batteries from previous purchase, and then also their new integrated systems.
Okay.
So U.S., Canada, Mexico, UK, Germany. Really looking forward to this position. It's super exciting. Been a long run with those guys. We've been talking for multiple weeks, and I am very excited to announce that this position is rolling out.
Congratulations, Ian.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Appreciate it.
And it's a global role.